All right, our learning target for today is I can use metric measurement to model the decomposition of one whole into tenths. So today is our first day with decimals, and we'll be looking at two words starting today. The first is decimal point, and so that's the dot that represents units in a decimal fraction. And we'll also be learning about tenths, which is the first digit to the right in our place value chart. It's also each part of 10 equal parts, tenths. We hear that word 10 in it. So we're still thinking, decimals are still so similar to fractions. They're just a different way to represent that number. So we see I've drawn a tape diagram and a number line. These are two ways to draw and show our thinking with fractions and with decimals. So here we see we have 10 equal parts in the tape diagram. As a fraction, each of these 10 equal parts would be written as 1/10. That would be the unit fraction. The way we write that in decimal form is 0 point, there's that decimal point, 1, the first number to the right. So if I had 1 shaded in, I would have 1/10 of this tape diagram, or 0.1 of this tape diagram shaded in. We can add decimals just like we add fractions. So if I were to say 1/10 plus blank is equal to 1 whole, or 10 tenths, I know that 9 tenths would fill in this blank. It's the same exact thinking when we're looking at decimals, because decimals are also parts of a whole, just like fractions. It's just a different way to represent it. So we have 0.1 plus 0.9 is equal to 1 whole. We have to make sure that our digits are in the same place value. And for today, that's going to be in the tenths, because that's the only place value we're really working in. When we add our tenths, 1/10 plus 9 tenths, we have 1 whole. We can also show that on our number line. So just like our number line before, we know that 10 tenths is equal to 1 whole. 1.0 is also equal to 1 whole. And now we can place our decimal point onto each tick mark. So we have 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 4, and 5, and counting right on up by 1, just like we would do with fractions. 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9, and 1 whole. So on our own, we are going to create our own equations, just like I have here. I shaded in 1/10. My fraction was 1/10 and 0.1. I started with fractions because that's what felt comfortable. That wasn't new to me. So I did 1/10 plus 9 tenths was equal to 1 whole. And then I looked for the decimal equation that is equivalent to 1/10 plus 9 tenths. So 0.1 plus 0.9. You're going to try that with two of them on the next slide, and then go on to the worksheet.